you to know, church, that Jesus Christ could come this month. Or He might come next week. Or He could even come.
A piece of bread could buy a bag of gold. I wish we'd all been ready. There's no time to change your mind. How could you have been so blind? The Father spoke, the demons died, the Son has come.
Okay, today we're going to start Series 4. And these series consist of a few teachings. Like the first one, when we talked about the Jew, the true Jew, opposed to the racial Jew, the Christian Jew, all this stuff. We went into that, and it was quite a long one. But that was Series 1. Series 2, we covered the topic of coming with or for the saints. We went into that. And then we went into John, type of the church being raptured in Revelations 4:1. We looked at that. Proof text is totally fake, off the wall, totally wrong. And this is why I'm doing these little series, just to get a little proof text that I was taught and the whole pre-tribulation rapture theory rest upon. This is a fairly new theory. It only came in 1830 and it's been propagated ever since that. Before that, no church father taught a pre-tribulation rapture. In other words, the church would be raptured off the earth before the Great Tribulation. Well, even that's wrong, because there is no Great Tribulation as we would understand it, as I was taught, as being taught out there in that sense. What I'm going to deal with today in Matthew 24, of course, you have those that do not believe what I'm going to teach, because I believe this. But what I'm getting at, you'll always have counterparts to these teachings. But there is not going to be a pre-tribulation rapture. I'll tell you that to start with. I'm sold on that. I don't believe that. There's more people disbelieving that now than ever before. The people that have studied this. And thank God for the few that humble themselves and realize that they were wrong. I'm talking about big guys with big degrees, titles before their name, big degrees after their name type people that run cemeteries or seminaries and professors and these. A lot of them have changed their minds over the years. That they see that Matthew 24 has already happened. It's not way out in the future. There's not going to be a second pounding of the Jews like we've all been taught to go under 7 years of persecution and killings and, and all this. And I'll get into that about this generation. That generation that Jesus talked about has already happened. The futures say it's yet to come. The rebuilding of the Jewish temple that Jesus can come back and sit in, the 1,000-year millennium. Then after that, the battle of Magog and Gog and all that business. There's just so much involved. So I'm going to deal with Matthew 24 today. Just about every Christian that becomes a Christian, born again, starts out in Matthew 24 for some reason. I did. Almost everybody I ever knew started out because they like to go to the spook stuff. Scared, spooky about the end times, and almost everybody teaches, yeah, it's in the future, yeah, that big beast, Antichrist, the 666 mark, it's all going to come, hell's going to break loose, everything's going to be really bloody and spooky and scary. So store up your ammunition, get your guns, hide out, this kind of stuff. And it's starting all over again. Every decade we got this scare stuff going on. Now it's supposed to be 2012. All this is supposed to come again. But remember, 2000 was supposed to happen. I mean, everybody was getting prepared for either a rapture or the takeover, the man beating their door in and take them off to get their heads cut off in some guillotine stored out in the middle of the wilderness, or incarcerate them out in some of those places. I mean, everybody was scared out of their ever-loving cotton-picking panties in those days. I remember I was there, and I was teaching totally opposite of that. Now listen, who was right and who was wrong? I was right, they were wrong. And I was telling them they was wrong. And here I am again, 10 years later, telling you the same thing. Don't believe this spook stuff, that 2012 is going to be the end of the world. Sweetie, your world could end today, and so could mine. Are we ready for Him? Don't look for no Jesus to come back and take you out of the earth and this great thing happen down here. The great thing is already happening down here. There's tribulation around the world. There's Christians dying all over the world. They say there's more Christians dying now than ever before in the history. Worldwide. Did they escape? Did they fly away in the sky? No way, honey. They went through their tribulation. So, you know, all this spook stuff that these big guys teach. Now, I'm going to read you a few quotes from the big guys. I'm going to start out my lesson today, my series 4, one taken, one left. Now, where have you heard that before? Well, everybody in the last 10 to 11, 12 years has heard that phrase, one taken, one left, because Mr. Tim LaHaye started this bull, writing his little books on one taken, one left, and he's got a dozen or more of these stupid end-time books. And if you notice, those books are classified as fictions. Why are they fiction? Because that jackass knows better. He knows he's teaching lies, but he's making millions and millions of dollars off those lies. And to be unaccountable for his big mistakes and his false doctrine, he calls it fiction. If he really believed what he was teaching, he would say this is non-fiction, this is biblical truth. Oh, he uses scriptures, he uses all this stuff in there, but he knows it's wrong. And he won't change his view on it. And now they have made movies on Left Behind, all this business. Knowing good and well this is fake, and knowing good and well the Bible does not even teach this. Well, I'm going to present in the next 2 messages the truth on one taken and one left. If you don't know what that means, I'll tell you what that means. And maybe you can change your viewpoint. If you sit in a church that teaches this rot, you should tell the pastor you're teaching false doctrine. God had to tell me I was learning false doctrine, and I had to burn my Bible, and I had to relearn everything I had learned in my Christian training, in my early Christian life in the big organization, Pentecostal. Okay, now, my text will be in Matthew 24, verses 36 to 44. We'll start there. I'm going to read that, then I'll read a few other things. Now, as you know, I have this particular Bible that it is pre-trib rapture. And all the notes they have in here, I should say, they go along with this false theory. And that's why I'm using this, because I'll read a few notes to you. And these notes are exactly what I was taught when I grew up. Most of them is taken from C.I. Schofield Bible, Larkin's chart, all these type of things. Okay. My title here in this Bible, The Unexpected Coming of Christ. It says in verse 36, but of that day and hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. This is Jesus speaking. Now, here we start. Jesus is going to start giving some illustrations here to show us what he's trying to deliver. Now, the first rule of interpretation is this. What did the speaker or the writer intend for the readers or the hearers to understand in their day, not our day? When Jesus was speaking those words to his audience, what message was he intended for them to hear? Not what we wanted to hear in our day, but them. Well, he starts out here he talks about the days of Noah. And he says, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Well, okay, what happened in the days of Noah? All you have to do is do a little research in your Bible and you find out what he's talking about. Well, he says in verse 38, in the days of Noah there were before the flood. They were eating and drinking, marrying, and giving in marriage. Nothing wrong with that. What he's talking about is just life went on as normal. Sin life. Sinful life went on as normal. It doesn't say anything about homosexual marriages. It doesn't say anything about adultery, fornication, murder, killing, none of that. Don't say none of that. It just says normal life was going on. But Noah was preaching to the lost souls of his day. So they were sinners. Then it says, until the day that Noah entered into the ark. That changed everything when he went into the ark. And, verse 39, knew not until the flood came. Now he's talking about the people knew not until the flood came. and took them all away. Who did he take away? Did he take Noah away in a rapture? Now Jesus is comparing this, and I was taught this. All the big people teach this, that Noah was a type of the people being raptured, taken away, before the flood or the great tribulation hit the earth. That's what Jesus is talking about here. His unexpected coming. And of course, they got his coming in two stages. The first coming is a rapture. The second coming is the real coming, when he really literally comes to earth. There is no two phases of his coming. There's one phase. He's coming in person one time. There is no pre-tribulation rapture hovering above the earth. Everybody, he's catching all the believers up, and they all go back to heaven business. We already went into that. That's fake. Was taken all away. This is very important. Who was taken away? So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Okay, if you're going to say that's talking about a rapture, Noah and his family enter into the ark of safety, and they were taken away in a rapture. Noah and them did not go through the tribulation, but that's not what it's saying. It's totally saying the opposite of that. The people that were taken away were the people that knew not the flood was coming. Because he's trying to warn them, be ready, because this is what happened in the days of Noah. They didn't believe. They were not ready. The flood came and it took them all away. Where did it take them away to? To heaven? Oh, hell no, it didn't take them to heaven. It took them away in the way of death. They drowned in the flood. Noah didn't leave the earth. In fact, he was in the ark, and the ark was sandwiched in between the floods that broke up. Read it yourself in the Bible. The fountains of the deep broke up. Water came up this way, like under the ocean, busted up. And it said it rained for 40 days and 40 nights. The rain came down, and the ark was in between. The rain's coming down, the flood's coming up, and this huge flood that covered the whole world. That was a great tribulation. That was the wrath of God. But Noah did not go to heaven. He was not raptured. How do I know this? Because, dear one, later on, a year later, he got out of the ark and he started all over again with new life on the earth. He didn't leave the earth. Well, sure, the water, he was not on earth because the water covered the earth. But underneath the water, the earth was there. Okay, I'm just giving you a few things how these people think. Now, that's one illustration. And before I get to my second one, and I don't want to give it all away at once, we'll pick up in verse 40 in a minute. But let me read you to an introduction here. This is by a professor. He has degrees. He has a doctor, professor title before his name, and then he has degrees after his name. He is a minister in a Reformed Theological Seminary. He's got a THM and a THD and an MDIV, and he's got all these big degrees. Now this man, he's one of few out there that does not believe the way we was taught, but he did believe this, and he was the one man that changed his viewpoints. And I'm telling you this for a reason. He also teaches at Whitefield Theological Seminary, professor at Christ College in California, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so what for that? Who cares? Who cares about degrees? I'm telling you this because in the introduction to the book here that he's written called The Great Tribulation, he says 2,000 years ago the greatest prophecies ever uttered were nearing fulfillment. Within a few short years, God sent the Son. God the Son would take upon himself a human body and soul, entering into history, provide himself a ransom for our sins. And he talks about all that. Then he goes on to the second paragraph. He says, now 2,000 years later, as we approach the year 2000, this book was written just before AD 2000. Remember what I was telling you a while ago that I was saying there ain't going to be no rapture? There's not going to be no end of the world? And everybody said, yes, yes, General, you're all wrong. The clocks are going to stop. Hell's going to break loose. The Antichrist is going to appear. Blah, 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 blah. Many believe another prophetic fullness of the times has come. The prophetic time, though, will result in judgment and chaos rather than song, praise, and worship. Growing numbers of Christian books are sounding the alarm. Planet Earth, 2000. Now, he didn't go back to Hal Lindsey's stupid books, Great Planet Earth and all that business. Hal started a lot of this stuff. But he's mentioned Planet Earth 2000, Will Mankind Survive, Earth's Final Days. These are different books he's talking about that was out there. Prophecy 2000, Rushing to Armageddon. Don't you sound spooky? And Is This the Last Century? Dozens of books. Dozens of books. And there's umpteen million books out there since the year 2000. He says one popular prophecy writer expresses well the sentiments of